You're listening to the 97th edition of the Bitachon podcast, and we're back here in this location. The visibility is a little better today, and there will be Mirz Hashem rain soon, in a few hours, and it's very windy, as you will hear from the recording. And we're finishing up in this section of the pesukim in the sefer Bitach BaHashem. And I'd like to actually start in another sefer. There's a whole gamut of pesukim, mostly from Tehillim, from King David. Dovid Hamelech's incredible Bitachon, his incredible courage and faith in Hashem is something to learn from. And so I'd like to share with you just the last two pesukim that we have here in Bitach BaHashem, and then we'll start in this other sefer, which is called Oitzer Psuke Bitachon V'Yeshua, a beautiful collection of pesukim and perushim and their stories, and it's really a powerful resource. Cherdes Adam Yitain Maikish B'Tech Hashem Yisugav. So I'm sorry, we're still with Shlomo Hamelech, King Solomon in Mishlei in Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 25. Wow, this wind is amazing. The pasuk says that the fear of a person is a trap for him. Bitach BaHashem Yisugav, but someone who trusts in Hashem, so he is going to see plenty. He's going to see all that he needs. So we have a number of different perushim here. Let's see, starting with Rashi. Says Rashi, when a person has a small eye, which means he has constricted thinking, and he's afraid, that if he gives charity, if he gives tzedakah, if he takes from his own money and gives to others, that he's going to end up needing to take from others. Rashi tells us that this kind of fear, this kind of constricted thinking, can cause a person to stumble. It's a trap. It's self-perpetuating, as we'll see in the other Meforshim. Now we have the Malbim. Cherdes Adam Yitain Maikish. So the pasuk here seems to say that having fear is a bad thing, but we find elsewhere that it's praiseworthy for a person to be constantly afraid. Nevertheless, the fear that we're speaking about here, or maybe it's Shemoira, Habahala Habisaimis. The Charada, it's Shemoira, sorry. This word Charada is different than Mefachid. Mefachid is a different type of fear than Chared. Chared means that I'm in a tizzy. Habahala Habisaimis. A sudden scare. Zayitain Maikesh. So if I experience a sudden fear and it completely upends me, that's the kind of thing that we're speaking about. Having that kind of fear, having that kind of sudden fear, shows that a person doesn't trust in Hashem. Because trusting in Hashem is a bedrock. It's a foundation. It's something that a person can always depend on if we've developed the Bitachon as we should. And so a person who has that bedrock is not knocked over by a sudden situation. A person might be scared, but a person isn't thrown off completely. A person won't have that level of fear if he has a proper bitachon in Hashem. The one who trusts in Hashem, so he has multiplying goodness in his life. Like we find that Hillel said. Hillel came into the town and he heard a scream as he came into his town. And he said, He heard the scream, but he knew it wasn't from his house. And the reason that he knew it wasn't because he recognized the scream, the voice. It was because he had bitachon. Shenemar, Mishmua ra lo yira, nochon libay b'tuch b'Hashem, pasuk in Tehillim. That a person who has bitachon, whose heart is dependent on the bedrock, which is Hashem, so he's not afraid of bad news. He doesn't get knocked over by fear because of some situation which suddenly appears. Hillel was sure it wasn't from his house. That was because of his bitachon. That was because of his foundation of faith. Now we find that Hillel, we mentioned this previously, but Hillel was somebody who each day, he wouldn't be worried about what's he going to have for Shabbos. Will he have something nice for Shabbos? He would be Bitach, and on Friday he'd always find something very special, the nicest thing possible for Shabbos. That was his midah, was a midah of bitachon. Now we have the Ralbag. When a person has a fear of something that he shouldn't have a fear of, the Ralbag, kind of confines the case to something which is an unwarranted fear. So having an unwarranted fear, that thing itself, the very fact that he's afraid, will cause the very thing that he's afraid of to happen. Mashal. And as an example, right, he gives a very clear way, an analogy for us to understand this. Let's say a robber comes along and finds somebody on the street, and he sees that the person is very afraid of him. So when the robber sees that this person is especially afraid of him, so the robber is going to be more likely to cause the person damage, to do bad to him, to steal what he has. He's not afraid of this person because this person is afraid of him. Right? That's an analogy for the fact that if we have fear in a situation, right, it opens ourselves up for the very thing that we fear to happen. Right? A lack of bitachon is itself a cause of negative results. But somebody who has faith in Hashem and is not afraid from anything because of the power of his bitachon, and even something that a person perhaps should be afraid of, it is something that's fearful. Such a person will experience an expansion. And he will strengthen himself through his bitachon, and he will escape from whatever evil might approach him. That's the Ralbag. Very beautiful. Such a cool mashal, where the person, the robber, who comes and he sees that we're afraid, so then it's more likely to attack. Now let me see this, Dovid. Hacherdas Adam, hacharada, Adam chari b'boya alav mikra ra. The fear that a person has, the quaking, the shaking, when some bad circumstance comes, hu yosef le'oid moikish al kili by balimai. So this itself is a trap. It's a further trap because his heart is not with him. Right? It's very important for a person to keep his wits about him, just on a simple level. When a person is facing off with a terrible situation, they need to keep their head on straight. And such a person who experiences this type of situation, they can easily fall. It reminds me of, in my apartment building, so when you walk up or down the steps, so the light which is on in the hall can just turn off on its own. It only is on for a certain amount of time. And at that moment it's dark and you could trip. Why? Not because your feet know what to do, but the very fact that you're afraid that you might trip can cause a person to trip. But someone who trusts in Hashem and doesn't have excessive fear, so he can overcome even the very situation that he finds himself in, Asher Hidbikatu Me'az, that he encountered from then. All right, last small shot from the Ibn Ezra. Cherdus Adam ish mefachiv le'iditam neftach b'Hashem yevo'eu ma sheyireh. He sums it up for us that the person who's afraid and doesn't place his faith and his trust in Hashem, so the very thing that he's afraid of will come upon him. Okay, last pasuk here. It's a short explanation here as well. Last pasuk here in Bitach BaHashem. Vaye'azru aleim vayinosnu biyadam hahagrim. Pasuk. This is in Divrei Hayamim, in Chronicles, the First Chronicles, chapter 5, verse 20. The Jewish people were helped. The Hagrim, which is a reference to Yishmaelim, to those who come from Yishmael, the Arabs. So the Arabs were given over into the hands of the Jews, the Kol Shemaim, and all that had accompanied them in battle. Why did we succeed? Why were we successful in our battle? Why were they given over into our hands? Because we called out to Hashem in the middle of our war. And Hashem responded to our prayers because we trusted in Him. And so the stuff, it says, they were helped by Hashem to overcome these enemies. Whoever was along with them, who had come along in the battle to help them against the Jews. Hashem responded to, received, and answered our prayers. Why were these Ishmaelites given over into the hands of the Jewish people? It was as a result of their trusting Hashem and their prayer to Hashem. That's why they were saved. Now, we have a few minutes left. I'd like to begin another sefer, and he gives us some concepts from Tehillim, from Dovid Hamelech, King David, and some different meforshim that we've seen. So we may go over some of the same pesukim that we've seen previously, but he gives us some off the beaten track meforshim, and he gives us some stories, some interesting ideas. Pasuk says in the 3rd chapter of Psalms of Tehillim, Pasuk Vav, I was sleeping and I awoke. I was able to awake. Why? Because Hashem was holding me up. Hashem was supporting me. The Alshich, he brings the Alshich. Omar, King David says, Hinei li oid hayras bitachon ki Hashem yeh. I have a way to convince myself, so to speak. I have a way to strengthen my bitachon in Hashem, that Hashem will be with me. Ki aloi mishu bitimin levav kamoini v'avarchim ibnei Avshalom lo yuchal lishaim. Because someone like me, I'm running away. King David was running away from his son. His son was trying to murder him, was trying to kill him, so that his son could take over. Avshalom wanted to take over the throne. Somebody who's running away in such a situation doesn't have the ability to sleep. You're too restless, you're too afraid. But I was able to sleep that night because my bitachon in Hashem, my faith in God, was so powerful that I didn't lose any sleep. Reminds me of the story we shared, it was a month or two ago, about somebody who wasn't able to sleep at night. He was trying to figure out what does he need to do in order to have his parnasa. This, that, what do I need to do? What's my ishtadlus? What's my ishtadlus? Until, in the end, he was able to quiet the nervous voice with bitachon. When he learned about bitachon, that Hashem's in charge and we don't have to do the ultimate ishtadlus. But he brings over here also, Mesupar al ha-griz zatzal, the Brisker Rav, it was said about him, Asher afilu be'emsa ha'melchama ha'neira ha'pkazot ha'yinoflot mikol tzad ha'yahoylech v'yashen karagil. During the war, World War II, the bombs were falling all over on every side. But he would go to sleep. And he would sleep regularly. He had no problem. And he would always remind himself, he would constantly review this verse. I was able to go to lie down and sleep. And I was able to wake up. Hashem woke me up. I woke up because of Hashem's support. So he would constantly review this verse, the kachi midas habitachon, because that's how it is when it comes to the character trait of bitachon, to this concept of bitachon, to somebody who's inculcated into himself the courage, the faith in Hashem. Even when everything around is windy, right? It's a windy day. Everything is this constant wind. The wind is blowing. It seems like we're going to get blown away. And yet, I'm quiet. I'm quiet inside because I have the fortitude to know that Hashem is with me. Back to the Alshich. This is so beautiful. This very song that I'm singing, I woke up in the night in order to sing it. I woke up because Hashem supports me. What does that mean? This is like the Mekubalim say. Sometimes it says Mizmor LeDavid, and sometimes it says LeDavid Mizmor. Now, what's the difference? Why does sometimes it says first in the pasuk it says a song of David, and why other times does it say to David a song? Well, it depends. When it says Mizmor LeDavid, it means the song came first to David because he was awoken, he was inspired by the song, and he started to sing. As opposed to other times, it says LeDavid Mizmor, that maybe he sat down at the piano, so to speak, and he started playing, and then the song came. But here he was awoken by the song. Mizmor zekachu she'amer Mizmor LeDavid, LeDavid Mizmor. This chapter 3 of Tehillim starts off, and it says Mizmor LeDavid. He was awoken by the song. He was inspired by the song. So this teaches that which it says that I'm awakened, it's because Hashem is the one who is supporting me. Hashem is giving me the inspiration to sing this very song. Shekitzani v'yayrani ashpia b'shefa v'smach v'chizuk. That Hashem has awakened me and inspired me, and He's given a shefa, He's given down to me an awakening and an outpouring of goodness, and He is supporting me. So Dovid Hamelech felt within the challenge, within the difficult situation that he found himself in. Someone's running after him to destroy him, but yet he wasn't blown over by it. The Meiri says, "Ani shachavti v'yishana klomer shelo yechrad l'tla'os." I slept and I slept deeply. I lied down to sleep means I wasn't extremely afraid. Aval amoid batuach yishan b'shalom. I will stand strong. I will stand with my faith, and I will sleep in peace. Ekitzoisi ki Hashem ismecheni kolomer. In other words, when I awaken, so I will awaken with a sense of faith as well. Right? When a person wakes up from his sleep, when a person is sleeping and they wake up, so whatever is really in their subconscious is what they wake up feeling, right? If there's a deep-seated fear in their subconscious, so that comes out when they're sleeping. But Dovid Hamelech was saying, I will wake up with the same assuredness. When I'm conscious, it's easier to be focused on my bitachon, on my faith in Hashem. Because, I can force myself, so to speak. But Dovid Hamelech had such powerful bitachon, it went down into his guts, went down into his core. And he knew that when he would awaken, there wouldn't be fear when he awakens. There would be his bitachon. There would be his faith in Hashem, because it's so deep and it's so down into his core. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you again next time.